My God, the Florida Gators have done it again on a Monday. They added another commit, this time from offensive tackle Tyler Chukuyem. You are a Florida Gator.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you know what? Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first, second, or third listen of the day, because this is indeed the third show of the day. It's 12:15 p.m. and we've got our third show as Tyler Chukuyem, offensive tackle, has committed to the Florida Gators in the 2026 recruiting class. And this is one that really kind of sprung on us late, right? You look at how this recruitment unfolded, and Tyler Chukuyem, by the way, is rated all over the place because some of these sites we're just now in the time where they're re-ranking. And so Tyler Chukuyem is a 4-star on On3. He's not ranked nationally, but he is the 26th offensive tackle in the country, the 32nd player in the state of Georgia. On 24/7, he is a 3-star, the 36th ranked offensive tackle in the country, and the 46th ranked player in the state of Georgia. He is unranked on ESPN and Rivals. 24/7 is supposed to have their next update in July. ESPN and Rivals should have their next updates coming in this summer as well. And by then, I don't know if Tyler Chukuyem will be a 4-star consensus or what his ranking will be, but I do know that he's going to be ranked higher than 787th nationally, where he is on the On3 industry rating right now. And this was a recruitment that kind of unfolded fairly recently. When you look at how this shook out, he announced that today would be the day he was committing. And I'm not going to lie, that did make me skeptical, because this past weekend was the first time he visited campus. This is his official visit there. And he also took official visits to Ole Miss and Cincinnati. The interesting part about this recruitment was that when he put out his final 4, it was Ole Miss, Florida, Cincinnati. Makes sense, the 3 places he took official visits to. But Florida State was in there as well. Although he's not taken a visit there. He didn't have a visit scheduled, but Florida State was in there as well. I guess that visit just never happened by the time he made his decision. But the Florida Gators adding another offensive lineman to this class. I do think that, again, I've been saying this, I think this is going to be a big offensive line class for the Florida Gators. I think that they very well could take, between 6 and 8 players. So that's where I land on people saying, the project players, this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, here's the thing. One, you're calling them project players only because you're seeing their ranking, or most likely you're only calling them project players because you're seeing their ranking. And then you're going, oh, low ranking project player. But 2, again, this is a time where they've now got 4 offensive linemen committed in this class. 3 of them are listed as offensive tackles. We'll see who actually stays at offensive tackle if someone moves into guard. I can tell you it won't be Chancellor Campbell. I don't see them moving a 6'8" player to guard. But they've now got 3 players listed as offensive tackles. They've got Janari Carr as an interior offensive lineman. He's going to be a guard long-term. But I have no problem with taking these players that we are viewing as, project players, or if people are viewing them as lesser recruits because of the ranking. That's fine. They're not coming here to be, the headlining pieces. And as Derek Havierspieler, I think that was I don't think that was a good pronunciation, but I think that was the best one that I've gotten on a first try. As he pointed out that, most linemen are projects. We've had this conversation a trillion times before, where high school offensive line recruiting or high school offensive line coaching is just horrible nationwide. It's not to say that there are no places that develop quality offensive linemen at a high school, but it is to say that most places in most high schools are just taking big guys that can maul people. They're not teaching you technique. They're not teaching you the real skills of the trade. And so I think that, yeah, you're right. Most linemen are projects. We've had these conversations where it's just guys taking, they're nimble athletes, they're long athletes, they're big dudes, they can move, and they're aggressive. And that seems to be Florida's approach with a lot of these offensive linemen is, are you big? Are you long? Are you athletic? And are you aggressive? And if you're those things, then they're usually pretty willing to take a swing on an offensive line recruit. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for guys that have those things that they can't coach. And they're saying, all right, let's coach them up. Because in high school, you're not getting many guys that are developed. It's not happening in high school football. Hell, a lot of times it doesn't even happen in college anymore. We're looking at just nationwide at every level of sports. Offensive line development has never been worse. Offensive line depth is horrendous because they're not getting developed. And so we can look at this and we can say, hey, this guy's a project, that guy's a project. But the thing is, this offensive line staff under Rob Sale has always looked for project players. And whether or not you think that's because they can't recruit offensive linemen or because you think that they're just not doing it, we've had this has been my take on the offensive line staff. And I was talking to someone about it earlier today, where the offensive line recruiting approach is, I want to take guys with the intangibles. I will teach them how to manage technique-wise. I will develop them that way. And I'm banking on my ability to develop them. And that's a confident approach. That's a bold approach. And if it works out, that's awesome. But if it doesn't work out, then you're going to get fired. And if you don't win enough games in the time that you're trying to get it to work out, you're going to get fired before they get developed. That's always been my approach with this recruiting. I don't care about the rankings. I've been very open about that. But also with a guy like Tyler Chukuyem, like, he's clearly just not ranked yet on ESPN and Rivals. I don't know how high he'll be ranked. I don't know where he'll wind up. But I can tell you he's not going to be completely unranked by the time this is all said and done. So it could be very well possible for those of you that do care about the ranking that he could be a 4-star on 3, 3-star on 24/7, 4-star on ESPN, and 4-star on Rivals. He could do that. He could do all that. And again, 24/7 is supposed to update their rankings next month. He could very well take a jump in that one as well. So I don't care about the ranking, but for those of you that do, I don't think this is going to be his final ranking, or I know this isn't going to be his final ranking. So it's just about where he winds up again. For those of you who care about the recruiting rankings, I don't. I care about the people that get paid 7 figures to do this. So it really isn't a thing that bothers me. We are going to talk about the chat, the rest of this recruiting class, the momentum, what's maybe next, all when we get back with Locked On Gators. There's nothing quite like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere that you want to experience live, and I mean, the finals are delivering. You know, we might have been saying, hey, not going to be viewed well, not going to be viewed often or viewed much, but games are delivering. Not going to lie to you. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games, concerts, baseball games, shows, whatever it is you want to go to. Prices on the app, by the way, actually go down the closer that it gets to start time. So with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time's a total game changer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. And so Florida now has 5 commits over the past 4 days. On Friday night, running back Carson Baker committed to Florida, who I've been very open about. I'm a big fan of him. On Saturday morning, wide receiver Marquez Daniel committed to the Florida Gators. On Saturday early afternoon, Jarayla McCoy, defensive lineman, committed to the Florida Gators. On Monday now, we've had offensive tackle Javari Lucas and offensive tackle Tyler Chukuyem commit to the Florida Gators. A lot of traction, right? And a lot of offensive talent being added to this class now. We will be seeing the defensive line class fill out. DBs will probably take a little bit longer, but not concerned about it. But Florida right now on 3 is now the 13th ranked class in the country. We'll see if 24/7 has updated their rankings. They've been relatively slow on things like that lately. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second, Harrison. Florida now ranks 30th in the 24/7 composite, and do I not see him? Nope. And they haven't yet added Tyler Chukuyem to the rankings, so they're 30th without that addition. We'll get to the chat now, and Harrison, I will get to your question in a second. A lot of folks in here. Okay, all right. Zach Fink, O-line staff, finally cooking. Again, my stance on it has been I respect bringing in guys and banking on your ability to develop. Like if you think you're a good coach and if you think you're a good developer and you say, hey, I can develop this guy, I respect that. I just need to see you actually go out there and do it now. We need all the linemen we can get this year. Yeah, just keep adding them. Of course, Brandon. Anytime. Great name, by the way. Chef Nib cooked breakfast, now lunch. What's on the menu for dinner? I don't know if there's anything on I don't think there's something on the menu for dinner. But I have said, wouldn't shock me if they got more going this week. I don't think they're cooking anything for dinner. Which, by the way, now with these 2 additions, that tells us that tomorrow's episode of Locked On Gators is not a scouting report episode. Tomorrow's episode is going to be about these offensive line additions, what could be next. And then I think Wednesday, we're going to have the scouting reports for the 3 most recent additions we haven't done, which is tight end Kekua Aumua, running back Carson Baker, wide receiver Marquez Daniel. I think Thursday, we're going to have scouting reports for defensive lineman Jarayla McCoy and the 2 offensive linemen that committed today in Tyler Chukuyem and Javari Lucas. Because, again, Florida's on fire on the recruiting trail right now. Like, they're just kicking ass right now. And so, again, I think this will be, 6, 7, 8 offensive lineman class. I think they want to add a ton of talent. They want to add a ton of bodies. They're not done. I don't think they're done on the offensive line at all. As Harrison Sanchez asked, Brandon, do you think that we can land in Puma? Yes. I don't think that, and I could be wrong. I have no problem saying that I'm wrong. But I don't think that taking these players changes anything about landing in Puma. Just because we've seen Florida add guys at the bottom of the class and then add guys that you're prioritizing. And I think that Cloud Puma is someone that Florida is prioritizing as a top of the class guy. I think they might be done with the project players. I do think that they might be done with those guys that we view as longer term developmental pieces, but I don't think that they're done with the top of the class guys. And I think that's an important distinction that people need to make when talking about this offensive line recruiting is you might say, oh, they're taking too many projects, but they might be done with the project players now. And they might just be saying, all right, now let's fill out the top of this class. And in which case, you're not going to care when it's all said and done if they've got 3 or 4 blue chip offensive linemen, a few guys that are viewed as long-term projects by the ranking services. You're not going to care about when they got them at that point. You're going to care that they're in the class. So you can say that they're taking too many projects. I don't think they're filling out the top of their class right now. I think they're filling out the bottom of it on the offensive line. So Cloud and Puma, I think Florida's very much in play there. Rob said, damn, I was just looking at your other post about the other line. Yeah, Florida. Busy morning. A lot of high school coaches volunteer for the job. They don't have years of experience teaching techniques. Absolutely. Like I'm not blaming the coaches. I'm just saying that offensive line coaching has been horrid. And it's a spot that I think there's a lot of people who don't want to coach offensive line. It's a spot where I think there's not a lot of appreciation if you're good at coaching offensive line technique for high school players. I think there's a lot of levels to it. It's coaches not getting paid enough. And so not enough people coaching. Like I've spoken to the high school coaches near me, and it's like, yeah, it's a volunteer thing. And it's like, well, it's tough to say, yeah, I'm fully willing to commit that kind of time to a volunteer job, right? So I don't blame coaches for it. It's just the reality of the situation that we're in as far as offensive line coaching, recruiting, developing goes. That's just the situation that we're in. And offensive line, again, that's why Florida, they go, yeah, we're going to grab these giant people that we think have the athletic traits and the tools and the nastiness to develop. And the nastiness, I think, is a big part for Florida. Like, you don't see them bring in offensive linemen, and we talk about them and we say, yeah, not a physical guy, not angry, not aggressive. I don't remember the last time I've thought about that with an offensive lineman that this staff has recruited. I think one thing that carries over is that aggressive mindset. They want people that want to be bullies, and I think they've done a good job there. I live in an urban area, and yeah, high school head coach is paid. If there's coordinators, sometimes coordinators are paid if they're already teachers at the school. And I mean, look, when I played, I didn't have position coaches. I had a head coach and a DC, and that was our entire coaching staff. Because it's volunteer below that, and people don't want to do that. So that's why it's like I don't blame the coaches for the offensive line development not being there. I blame kind of the system itself of high school coaching not paying enough to justify it being a full career, full job. But hey, hopefully some places get paid. Hopefully some places change. Hopefully we see high school coaches get paid more, especially in the state of Florida as well. And we'll see there. But thanks for making Locked On Gators your first, second, or third listen of the day. We will be back, I think, tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be a commit tonight, but I would love it if I were wrong about that. But the Florida Gators, hopefully, going to continue adding to this class this week. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.